Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Combat Craig, and today we're talking about VA buddy letters. What is a VA buddy letter? So this is a statement that is filled out by your buddy, friend, spouse, child over 18, they have to be over 18, that can, offer insight into your disability and how they experience it. This isn't something that you're going to replace with actual medical evidence. This is something like you could kind of add on to the medical evidence that you have. What kind of medical evidence am I talking about? Current diagnosis, current symptoms, and a nexus. That's what you're going up against in your C&P exam. So you want to make sure you have that stuff, and you include a VA buddy letter from your buddy if you have one that has some firsthand knowledge that might be insightful about your claim. How do you go about writing a VA buddy letter? So this is your chance to talk about your disability or have your buddy talk about your disability. So since we are lay people, veterans, we're not medically trained, we're not able to diagnose ourselves, give professional medical opinions about ourselves. So we're limited to, what the pain is like, how often we feel the pain, how it affects our life, things of that nature. So really, you want to keep it brief. You submit it on a 21-4138. So you would say something like, I was diagnosed with this condition. It hurts. My doctor wrote me a nexus. My doctor wrote down my symptoms. Here's my symptoms. And you keep it brief like that. You don't want to try to adjudicate your claim within your VA buddy letter because they're just not going to read it because that's not the place to do it. The actual adjudication of the claim is done by medical evidence. Your doctor, when you submit your claim, if you are having problems getting medical evidence, check out my med team. There's an email address below. And then you're going to a C&P exam, and that's the VA side of the story. So it's your side of the story, VA side of the story, and then a VA rater is going to put all this together. That's the main part where this battle is won. The buddy letter is just a little add-on. They're really mostly used if you're in a tie situation where, the C&P examiner says one thing negative, your doctor says one thing positive, and you're in a tie situation and tie goes to the runner. You need to have the medical evidence or your buddy letter it just doesn't carry much weight. They call it probative value. So understanding where your VA buddy letter fits into the whole process is probably the most important part. Now, there are some disabilities like tinnitus where you actually can write your own nexus in the buddy letter. Since tinnitus is so subjective, and the way that you formulate your argument, you can say, my tinnitus started on active duty service. It's been ringing ever since. Those are like the two main things with the buddy letter for tinnitus. You have to say when it started, active duty, and that it's a chronic condition that's been going on for the last 40 years. So there's a few disabilities like that, but by and large, especially if you're doing like mental health or orthopedic conditions, things of that nature, you could just talk about what your mental health is like, how bad it is for your social and your work life. In an orthopedic condition, how bad it sucks having a bum knee or a bad back. And you don't want to go into, making the full argument for your claim and hoping to win it, because that's not what buddy letters are used for. VA claims are all about strategy. I preach and I teach strategy in my boot camp. Check it out at combatcraig.com. Links in the description. So who can write and fill out a VA buddy letter? So as I mentioned before, they have to be over 18. Most of the time you're going to run into this with your children. If your child's 17, they're a minor. They can't write a VA buddy letter. If they're over 18, good to go. Your spouse, another service member, a close friend, or a relative, somebody that's close to you, a pastor maybe, teacher, somebody that's close to you, boss, that can see and has some kind of insight, firsthand knowledge. If they don't have firsthand knowledge about you and your disability, then you don't need a buddy letter from them. A lot of times we'll run into a situation where we want to, get a battle buddy to write a statement for us, and we got to go track them down. If they have some unique inside knowledge, because whatever, they weren't admitting burn pits were happening or whatever. There's a lot of scenarios and a lot of things the government, hasn't admitted to yet. That's a good situation where you would write a buddy letter. but you want to keep it limited to people that are close to you at some point in your life, either on active duty, or if you're doing like a secondary claim, or even if you're filing a direct service connection claim, they need to be close enough to you to have, insight into your disability and their opinion of, like he says he has a bad back. I see him limping around a lot. They can say that kind of stuff, but you want to steer clear of anything that's an actual diagnosis, throwing around diagnostic codes in there. Because we're laymen, we're not supposed to know these things, even if we do. And I get it. So we're the ones that live with these disabilities. We know exactly how they make us feel and all that kind of stuff. But we have to be careful about what we say, because you could say too much. If you start going on and, talking and acting like a doctor, they're just going to be like, yeah, this guy thinks he's a doctor and he's not. We're biased, right? We're trying to get paid for a disability. So we are biased. So the more we're writing about ourselves, it just doesn't hold much weight. Probative value is the operative word there. So get your buddy. Yes, I see him limping around. He talks about it being his back. That's all you need to say. Buddy letter done. Couple sentences. This doesn't need to be multi-paged. You're going to need medical evidence if you want to win your VA claim. You need a current diagnosis, current symptoms, and a nexus. If your doctor won't give these things to you, check out my med team. There's an email address in the description. So what form do you fill out a VA buddy letter on? This has changed over the years. You used to be able to write it on any kind of piece of paper. I don't know how long ago it changed, 8 years ago, something like that. But it's VA form 21-4138. There's a newer one, but I would go with the 21-4138. The newer one, I don't have the name of it right now. I think it's 102996 or something like that. That's a sworn declaration. You could use that form, but you don't need to. A buddy letter is fine, and you're going to fill it out and make sure that if you're filling it out as a personal statement, you fill it out entirely and you sign and date it. If you don't sign and date it, they're not even going to look at it. Same thing for your buddy. If your buddy, your spouse or your battle buddy or your adult child or your parent or whatever, they fill it out. They have to sign and date it for it to be valid. It's like this with everything, pretty much all forms, DBQs, independent medical opinions, all that kind of stuff. It needs to have the right dates and signatures, because there's enough going on when you're filing your claim. You don't want to make it easy for them to deny your claim and cite, VA buddy letter invalid because of no date. So double check everything, cross your T's, dot your I's, and just know where the VA buddy letter fits into the whole process. It does fit in. It doesn't carry much probative value. And now that you know that, go get some actual medical evidence. If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, check out my boot camp. There's a link in the description, combatcraig.com. And if you need medical evidence, hit up my med team. There's an email address in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.